Hey guys, what is up? Hope everyone's having a great day. So, making my way through these unsealed documents. To every single person who's read every single word, I salute you. It is a long haul. It is a long haul through all of these, and I'm about midway through and thought this was very interesting. The conversation around whether or not the pool cameras would have, if they wanted the pool cameras in at the end of the day. So they had a hearing about it, and, Team Heard definitely wants to blame other people for this whole SV thing being leaked. I'm going to put my 2 cents in at the end of it because where I got it from was nowhere near here. So we're going to take a look at this document and just see what Ben Chu had to say in response to Elaine when it came to the pool cameras being introduced into the courtroom. Okay, so this is probably one of my favorite lines from Ben so far. He said, "This is my nightmare." So this is Ben Chu speaking. "This is my nightmare, seeing multiple Miss Bredehofts instead of just one." He said, "I was kidding, Elaine." As I said, I don't think he was kidding. He said, "I thought I would defer to Miss Bredehoft to go first." The court said, "Okay." And he said, "Advancing our position." And so she said, "All right, go ahead, Miss Bredehoft." So Elaine said, "Your Honor, I actually took a lot of time to go into this. I talked to a number of different people. And I think at the end of the day, after looking hard at Virginia Code Section 19.2.266, I think our position ultimately is that we think that it would not be permitted under the statute. And the reasons for that, Your Honor, are 2 specific spots in the statute. Section 19.2.266.2, which explicitly prohibits electronic media and still photography coverage of public judicial proceedings in, quote, divorce proceedings, and end of quote. And of course, the judge said, "Ms. Bredehoft, I understand, but this is a defamation case, so that doesn't pertain." Exactly, we're not doing the divorce over again, even though I think Amber would have loved to have done that. This isn't what this is about. So Elaine said, "Well, I understand, but please just hear me out." There is and then it says they couldn't understand it on this one, and I really did give it some thought. And quote, "Proceedings concerning SV," end of quote. And then Virginia Code Section 19.2.2663 prohibits coverage of witnesses, including victims of families of victims of SV. Now, the concept behind these, Your Honor, is that's why I brought in domestic proceedings, the divorce proceedings. The concept here is to respect, from the legislator, is to respect the privacy of the inner workings of a marriage, as well as to protect the privacy and the dignity of victims and families of victims of SV. Amber Heard has alleged that Mr. Depp SV'd her, including R, on several occasions before and during her marriage with Mr. Depp. There will be testimony on this, not only from Ms. Heard, but from other witnesses weighing in on different things. Other witnesses. I didn't hear any of those. Did you? Nothing concrete anyways. Nothing that she hadn't secondhand told anybody, including medical, mental, and health professionals. There is also a sequence here where the S assaults were, Your Honor. There's a sequence of other events in telling the chronological story of these things. Ms. Heard obtained a domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp back in May of 2016, which remained in place until they had their settlement on their divorce. Since Ms. Heard is a victim of SV and R, her testimony as a victim would be excluded under the statute. Now, presumably, if you technically read the statute as well, Mr. Depp, who was married to Ms. Heard, would be a family member, as would Ms. Heard's sister and Mr. Depp's sisters, so their testimony would be excluded from coverage. Okay, so they skip a couple of pages, but then it says courtroom where they could, all be filmed, including the courtroom staff, Your Honor. I think under the circumstances, doesn't make sense. And I have to tell Your Honor, I spent a lot of time before I came to that conclusion. And when I took a hard look at the statement and the legislative, intent on that, I really think in this instant, this would not be appropriate. So just said, "All right, thank you." And Ben Chu said, "Thank you again, Your Honor." Ben Chu for Johnny Depp. "I will answer the court's question with the real purpose of why we're here today. but I have to first address the outrageous statement that Ms. Bredehoft just made. Earlier this week, we had the deposition of Dr. Anderson. Dr. Anderson was the couple's therapist. Dr. Anderson testified that she disapproved of Ms. Heard's ex parte TRO petition in Los Angeles because she said Amber tried to change the rules. Now, a fair summary of Dr. Anderson's testimony was, which I defend and then took, this is all in response to questioning by Ms. Bredehoft's partner, Adam Nadelhaft. Dr. Anderson said that Amber admitted that she initiated violence, that when she would try to bait Mr. Depp, he would go out to see his friends because he actually had friends. And to stop him from doing that, she would insult him and then she would slap him, then to try to stop him. And then he would constantly retreat. This contradicts Ms. Heard's testimony that she didn't initiate violence. She is a liar, Your Honor, and this is their couple's therapist. The couple's therapist. She also, Ms. Heard, admitted to slapping Mr. Depp, to throwing a can at him, and to being proud of initiating violence against Mr. Depp. See, Your Honor, for her to say these things when she knows they're false and she knows that her client has testified falsely, is that what would happen? We trust the court and we certainly trust the court's security. We don't trust Ms. Heard. So judge said, Ms. Bredehoft, anything further? And Elaine said, Your Honor, I take it there must be press in the courtroom for Mr. Chu to have gone on to such a manner. And we can certainly address that. We don't have a problem with transparency, Your Honor. You know, the press is still going to be covering this. And, you know, we have already won the case in the UK and they found 12 acts of DV as well as SV against Ms. Heard. And we certainly, you know, welcome the opportunity for a fair trial. That's not the point. And he didn't address the points from the statute, Your Honor. And that's the concern here, is there is going to be testimony of SV and R, and it's going to be interwoven into the testimony of beatings. There's going to be a tremendous amount of evidence, Your Honor, and there's going to be, and now it skips a couple more pages, but I am assuming that this person speaking is Ben. He said, Dr. Anderson, to whom I just referred, the marriage counselor, who said that Miss Heard never should have filed the TRO. They instructed her counsel, who again did nothing wrong, to redact out of her notes so completely that there's only a tiny little spot where the word violence is mentioned. Wildly inappropriate redactions. So we have got to take that before Judge Bowick, and we probably have to take that before you, because they're citing some carved out in her HIPAA waiver. But it is outrageous. They know that the marriage counselor's notes are devastating to Miss Heard because Miss Heard made all kinds of admissions that she was the perpetrator of violence, and Mr. Depp was the one who constantly retreated. So judge said, well, Mr. Chu, what exactly are you asking? And Mr. Chu said, I apologize, Your Honor. So all I'm asking, I apologize, Your Honor, but all I'm asking is if the court could now, before we run, and then it cut off. Okay. So Dr. Anderson, couples therapist, did not agree that Amber should have got that TRO. Right there. And the fact that she said she tried to change the rules, I don't know exactly what was meant by that, but I take it as she tried to get the upper hand. And we know that Amber did go to Dr. Anderson and try and say, like, how do I get the upper hand in this? And essentially come out the winner. How can I leave this relationship and come out the winner? Unfortunately, I think Amber seems to think that, you know, there needs to be a winner and there needs to be a loser when people separate, instead of just, you know, leaving as calmly as possible. Anyway, conversation for another day. So they said that Dr. Anderson's testimony was pretty damning to Amber and all of her allegations, because she admitted that she was the one who would bait him into arguments and Depp would just retreat. And also there's this whole thing revolving around who outed the SV. Amber is trying to say that it was Adam Waldman with his some of his comments to press, we're going to call it. And then there's actually rumors going around that it was Elaine that did it within this this session because she didn't realize that press was in the room. You know where I and a lot of other people got the SV inclination from? This. Her own Twitter post where she said, I wrote an op-ed. Everyone look at my op-ed, and linked it down below. And it said, I spoke up against SV and faced our culture's wrath. That's where I got it from. So my next question is this why she had to enter in the SV allegations in the UK to begin with? Is this why? Because I didn't read anything in the TRO that had anything to do with SV. Unless I read it wrong, unless I didn't read it right, I didn't see anything in there. And I don't know. It's all very hinky. But at the end of the day, even the therapist said she shouldn't have had her TRO. And then there was the video before where she said that she wasn't afraid that Johnny was going to come back after the birthday incident. And then she said the only reason she got her TRO is because she wanted to change her locks. We know she tried to change her locks after birthday incident. Stories aren't lining up. Still, after all of this, they're just getting more and more blurred. The more and more you look into it, the more and more you scratch your head. So that's it. That's all. Have a wonderful day. I will be back with more videos, little snippets that we find as we go along through these documents. I send everyone as much positivity as possible. Please just be nice to yourselves, and I will see you guys next time.